You are listening to Armchair Healthcare, a podcast on pills, placebos, and policy.
All right, welcome to Armchair Healthcare. What's up, Max?
So, we have a few things. One of the items was that Cytokinetics is moving forward with their drug for ALS, despite the fact that their phase 2 pretty much seemed to fail almost everything.
All right. Well, how is this different than every other time this always happens constantly?
Well, usually you don't move forward with... usually there's some kind of redeeming quality here, and there really wasn't.
If I remember the results correctly, they even did the dog and horse and pony show. Dog and pony show. What type of show is it that they do? But they did the whole subgroup analysis and everything else, and that still didn't get them past the finish line.
Exactly.
So they tried to hack it. They tried to p-hack it, and they just couldn't hack it.
Exactly. They did like a post hoc analysis, with pooled data, and they still didn't get where they needed to be. I think they were still like at 0.1 p-value. So it's just sort of like there's no redeeming qualities here. And I don't remember. This has to be like their, maybe third, fourth, fifth something iteration at this point. Let's go for
of this drug?
6. No, of like Cytokinetics. I remember they were doing, I think, cardiovascular stuff when they began. If you look at their long-term chart, it's pretty atrocious.
They have to keep this story alive so they can raise enough money to keep on going, probably.
But how can you raise money off of this other than from like people like Savvy Capital and like other people like that?
Well, it's still money.
No, it is still. It's good for you. It's just not good for your investors because, the game is they'll give you money, they'll sell out really quickly, and they'll have warrants. So they'll make money, but they're not really long-term investors. Not the kind that you really want in your stock.
Yeah, but it's either that or debt, or just coming up with a new business plan.
I think they need to come up with a new business plan rather than trying to force this square peg in the round hole. It's just not working out. At least sometimes when you have these kind of moving forward to phase 3 after a failure in phase 2, it at least was like either really, really close, or you had like a lot of secondaries that actually worked, just not the primary, and then you like switch endpoints in the phase 3 or something like that. Here, no, forget it. It was just bad. Yeah, I don't know. They really should just kind of move on to something else. This is very laughable.
And do you know what their drug does? Do we know anything about the background of this drug?
So the drug is reldesemtiv, is designed to activate certain proteins to increase muscle contractility and strength while delaying fatigue, even when motor neurons are lost.
Okay.
Is that your BS face?
Yeah. It's just... So it makes you super strong?
No.
Does it make you like a Hulk?
If it made you like a Hulk, I think they could even find like other indications for it. HIV wasting or something.
Sure.
Why not?
Sure.
And then like everyone can get it off labels to be just like, ripped without having to go to the gym all the time.
Yes. That is a thing that people do. Off-label use of anabolic steroids, is that what you're saying?
Exactly. But if it doesn't have the downsides of steroids, this would be kind of nice.
Yeah. This is one thing that those folks that take anabolic steroids, the weightlifters, appreciates more than perhaps the general public, which is that those nerve endings on the muscles are really important. In fact, a huge percentage of your strength gain when you first start working out, right, is just by getting more nerve endings on your muscles.
Oh.
Right? So you just naturally sort of your muscles try to self-regulate and not become too hypercontractile because they'll hurt themselves, right? And a lot of strength training is actually getting past some of those thresholds. There's getting more nerve endings. There's sort of reversing some of the effects of myostatin. There's being able to basically unlock that potential in your muscles. And then people plateau and stop gaining strength and actually have to build muscle after that. So that's the famous plateau after about like, I don't know how long it takes, 6 months of working out, a year.
Interesting.
So those nerve endings are really important. And if you can't bring those guys back, I don't have a tremendous amount of faith in your drug.
Yes.
And not to mention, if they're still going away, then you're never going to get rid of that decline.
Mm-hmm. And then, this is not the first time they failed in ALS. They had a previous drug, which just in 2017, so just like, I don't know, even, I think it was like a year and a half ago, they failed. It was a 700-person trial. It was really big, and they completely failed.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's, I don't know why they want to fail again, but apparently they're really itching for it. And then moving on to someone who is probably very likely to fail, there's Ovid. They released some of their Angelman syndrome results, and there was an article in Stat about how, clinicians are positive on it.
Okay.
But if you guys remember, this is where I believe it was positive in 1 out of 17 endpoints, their data, and also this is a drug that was first synthesized in 1977 and has had several different homes, several different indications, and it's just not going anywhere. And then the company is saying that the reason that analysts are poo-pooing their drug is because they just don't understand the endpoint. They don't understand because they're using a global impressions of improvement scale by doctors.
Oh, the FDA loves that endpoint.
Yeah. I just want to see that there was like a quote in here, and it was just like so patronizing of analysts. Here we go. It's like, just imagine if a never-known-before disease had a clinical trial and the poor analysts who are inundated with gene therapy and immuno-oncology and other things had to suddenly learn about a new disease and a new endpoint. That's very tough for them, and I understand that.
Excuse me? It's tough for us to learn about a new indication, a new endpoint? This is like literally the definition of our job. It's just the idea that like all these analysts have all become dumb because they just understand gene therapy. They can't possibly understand this genetic disease.
Yeah. I mean,
they just understand gene therapy.
Yeah. It makes no sense. And then like the CGI endpoint is not it's not really new. You see that in a lot of different things. You just never see it as an approvable endpoint.
Yeah, it's always like a secondary endpoint.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, of course, is that Ovid actually wrote a paper on endpoints in Angelman's, and they didn't even mention this as like a key endpoint to go after. So it's only after their data show that, well, this is the only one we're positive in, that they're like, oh, this is a great endpoint. Otherwise, it's like, when they look at it objectively, obviously wasn't.
Yeah, it's a garbage endpoint. It's asking doctors, does anything seem better?
Yeah, do you generally think things are better?
Yeah, it seems a little bit better. I mean, as this whole story proves, first off, I mean, doctors, they're actually an optimistic bunch, right? You kind of have to be somewhat optimistic if you're going to go into, say, genetic diseases like this that have no cure. You know what I mean? You're trying to help these people out. You're really trying to do something nice, right? Especially for congenital genetic diseases like this. And of course, they're going to be like, yeah, I think maybe there's a little bit of improvement. Of course, yeah, I'm optimistic about the drug. Oh, yeah, sure.
Exactly. I mean, like if you've ever been to a medical conference, I mean, they'll give standing ovations to quite a lot of different, trial data releases, but it doesn't mean they're actually going to use it. I remember they were all like wild and crazy about the Nivo plus Ipi data in melanoma, and it's like it was a very toxic combination that only added a little, and I think people generally still don't use that. They use Nevo, sure, and probably there's some IPI, but like the combo, I don't think is like so heavily used.
Yeah, and that's actually something that works.
And that's something that works, although it was just very toxic.
Yeah.
Here, it's like, come on, you have like some cherry pick data that they threw against the wall, and look, it's a horrible disease. So if you have some data that shows that maybe people are getting better, of course, like why wouldn't a doctor at like a conference say, hey, that looks pretty interesting? Because like if you have nothing else, at least you have like something to try, right? But that doesn't mean that the drug actually works or will ever be approved by the FDA. But you never know who's going to be the commissioner and all that stuff. It's going to be a seasteading advocate or something.
Yeah, and this is the reason why we have the FDA. Right, this is like their role is to be the people that are like, all right, we're gonna just cut through the bullshit of like, I think it works, right, and actually look at the data and see if there's actual improvement. So of course you can't use, I think it's working, as an endpoint for approval.
Yes, that should not be the role. Since you mentioned kind of the point of the FDA. We were having a conversation, I don't know, maybe 1 or 2 weeks ago, and I discovered that they don't make people read The Jungle by Upton Sinclair anymore. And this was like the book that kind of led to the creation of the Food and Drug Act initially. I'm just horrified. It's like you hear about the book in school now, but you're not actually required to read it anymore. And reading it is what really gets to you. Like, oh my gosh, things are horrible without like an FDA.
I didn't read it in school.
I read it, and it stuck with me still. I mean, there were some graphic images in there about like what happens in the meatpacking industry in Chicago, and it was in the, I think it was like early 1900s. And
I, for one, I'm happy not
shocking.
knowing how sausage is made.
Oh yeah, it gets really, it's very graphic.
I'm actually kind of worried. Because I was in Chinatown, I was getting some dumplings. Right, and I saw some guy, making some dumplings, and that's cool and all, but these were like they were really good and like really cheap dumplings, and I was eating them, and I was like, I really don't want to know what's in this.
No, you don't.
I really don't. It's probably like hearts. It's just all hearts.
Are hearts bad for you?
I think they're good for you. I think they're like really high in iron.
Just as long as it's not brains.
Brains are boring. I've had brains before. I've had pig brains.
But you're not supposed to.
Why? Because you might get like
some weird friggin' brain disease.
No, that's from like cows and stuff.
Cows, pigs, whatever. They're gonna find something new that like pigs have it too, or something. Some version. Apparently, there's
gonna get pig Alzheimer's.
Well, there is actually a giant like pig plague in China right now. I think they've had to cull something like 20 or 30% of their pig population.
Yeah, the
pig Ebola. That's what it is.
Pig Ebola. Wow, I had no idea about this. This should have been a topic on the show. Pig Ebola. There's an outbreak of pig Ebola?
Yeah, in China. So like it's getting really serious, and it's going to kind of affect, well, obviously pork prices, and then really the eating habits of China for a little bit, because there's going to be a shortage of pork.
Yeah, I mean, this is one thing, a hidden benefit of a centrally planned economy is that you can just say, all right, kill all the pigs in southern China right now, and they do it.
Yes, the benefit is generally, yes, some sort of genocide. You can do it very easily without any checks and balances.
Well, I know they did it.
Chinese are good at it.
They did it with bird flu too. They like,
and people.
Yes. We can get into that in a second. But I know you're like chomping at the bit here,
dude. Come on, we have China terrorists. We have all this China stuff we could talk about.
And but yeah, one time when there was bird flu, they just decided to kill like all the chickens, like in southern China, like I just said. Like they just decided to get rid of all of them in certain regions, and it stopped bird flu.
Yes, because they don't have like the problems like, well, if I kill all the chickens belonging to this farmer, he might starve to death. They'll be like, we don't care. That's probably literally how they think, the Chinese government.
Yeah, they don't care.
They don't care. They don't care.
I mean, they'll figure it out. I mean, that's always like really that's how I think they think. They're like, okay, we'll figure all that out later.
Yes, and well, they don't even care about figuring out later. They're like, we have a problem. This is the best way we think that to fix it. if we have to break a few eggs to make the omelet, we have a billion other people. So I think that's probably how they're thinking. And since we're on the subject of China, and I am chomping at the bit, it's just interesting what's going on with the, I don't know, like at first I thought it was just some sort of like weird stock manipulation trick because, so what was it? On Sunday, Donald Trump tweets about increasing tariffs on China by quite a lot just suddenly. Futures crash, the market opens really down. And then over the day, like little positive bits are like put in that, the Chinese are still coming for the negotiation and this was just a negotiating tactic. And then, the market actually closed almost flat on Monday. And then like right after the market closes, Mnuchin comes on and says, no, the Chinese actually walked back a lot of stuff and we're kind of pissed. And then market crashed again. And then, last night or this morning, Reuters came out with a story saying, yeah, the Chinese kind of did really walk back like quite a significant portion and there might not be a deal. And you have all this news, but it was just kind of interesting. It almost looked like there was some sort of trick to only have bad news when the market's closed, but good news during the market so that like it can have a chance to bounce.
I don't know, man. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think so. I think
it's a shit show in general, but
this
whole China thing.
That's what I kind of thought before the Reuters article this morning, but now it sounds like they actually did walk everything back, and it could be because of Biden is actually very pro-China historically, and Hunter Biden has a lot of private equity relationships related to China, so they could just be waiting it out.
Maybe.
I mean, look. I'm not trying to bash Biden here. I mean, I think, I can agree that it would probably be a saner administration under Biden. But, this stuff that's coming out about like kind of Hunter Biden and the private equity stuff. And I mean, if you're worried about like Russian collusion with the Trumps, Chinese collusion or Ukrainian collusion and Hunter Biden is kind of a big issue too.
I think we should hold all of our leaders to a high standard.
Unfortunately, they're all the worst. I mean, who do you think is going to be less corrupt? Someone who's been a politician for 40 years? Or someone who was a New York real estate developer? I can't really answer that one.
I don't know, man. New York landlords are kind of the worst people in the entire world.
New York politicians, though?
Yeah.
And Delaware?
Yeah,
Delaware's kind of a hick state. And I mean...
Hey, don't talk shit about Delaware.
What? You're not from Delaware?
No, but I feel the need to defend Delaware right now.
Why?
I'm not sure it's a hick state. It's like it's too small to be a hick state. What did they grow there? Like grapes or something? Like little bitty things?
They grow credit cards in the ground.
They grow credit cards. Yeah, I know.
And then what's the name of the University of Delaware mascot? Isn't it like the Blue Hens or something? Blue Chickens?
I don't know. Honestly, they don't play basketball.
That's all you care about.
Yeah, I have no idea.
And then, okay, well, so moving on. So I found out that there was a Vice article on something that I really probably didn't need to know existed.
That's every Vice article, Max.
I don't know. It's not always like that. But so on Vice,
you don't want to know about transgender heroin dealers in Guatemala?
That could be interesting.
A lot of the stuff is interesting.
But this is not really interesting. It's just sort of like, why are people so messed up and why do they have to write articles about it? So this is an intro to figging, which is basically where you put ginger up your butt.
All right. Why don't you...
Because the subheadline is, it's like a butt plug, but it burns.
Skirt. Back up.
Yes.
Why are people putting ginger in their butt?
I can't really say.
It's like a sex thing?
I think it makes them feel better for some reason.
It's the same feeling as like the day after you eat like 5-6 tacos on the street.
What?
When you eat too many tacos.
And then you have to go to the bathroom?
You have to go to the bathroom the next morning.
Yeah, but this isn't about going to the bathroom. It's like it's about the burning sensation. So it says, also called gingering, figging creates a warm, tingling, or burning sensation that some people find erotic, intense, humiliating, or painful in an exciting way. And they say that it's been expanded to include vaginas, and in some cases curethras. I cannot imagine.
I'm editing this part 'cause I don't even want to subject our listeners to
the cringeworthy description of this.
Yes.
I mean, that's just horrible. Who does this stuff? I mean, I can understand a fascination for midget wrestling more than I can understand this one. What?
I'm not even gonna touch that one. You're setting me up a little bit too well here, Max.
Come on, midget wrestling. Talk.
Well, okay, so bear with me for a second. I'm gonna be sex positive here.
What positive?
Sex positive.
What's sex positive?
Sex positive is when you don't say, okay, sex is not necessarily a bad thing.
I never said that. I just
No,
don't think you should be sticking ginger up your hoo-ha.
I'm just going to say that consenting adults can do whatever they feel like with all their orifices.
Yeah, I'm not saying there should be a law against it. I think still I am allowed to think that they're kind of nuts.
I think it's interesting to speculate about how you get to the point in your life when you're sticking ginger up your butt. But I fully respect people to do whatever it is that they like in the privacy of their own homes.
Okay, Mr. Libertarian. By the way,
our forefathers.
This seems like a Brooklyn/Portland thing, you know?
They founded this country on the principle that
all gingers created equal.
Well, no, some ginger is
more equal than others.
Some ginger goes up your your booty. Some of it's booty ginger, and
yeah, well, you know, but
I'm kind of at a loss.
Well, it's not also just ginger because they're also doing hot peppers, cinnamon, garlic, Tabasco, peppermint oil
for like a minty booty.
I guess. I guess. It's just, I don't know. This doesn't sound good. I'm sure there's got to be some risk in putting these things up your booty.
Well,
it's not meant to go there. It's supposed to go in one direction. You're going like wrong way.
We're not even going to get into that. I think as long as you're doing everything, as long as they cut off all the sharp corners, I think they're good.
Well, couldn't you have I don't know. I mean, if you have E. coli comes from, you're more likely to get food poisoning from E. coli if it's on greens. So if you're doing that up your butt, can't you I don't know, get something bad there?
I've never actually heard, but that's an interesting question. Food poisoning
through figging
or suppository, any variety of suppository. Ask our listeners. You can respond to us on Twitter.
Oh, great.
Can you get a GI infection of some variety through your butt? Question of the week.
You should be able to.
Hey, Max, did you know that some turtles can breathe through their butt?
No.
Yes. They have a highly vascular chamber adjacent to their butt that sort of serves like a gill where they can get a limited amount of oxygen out of the water.
I hope that doesn't mean they smell their own farts.
Allowing them to stay underwater for longer.
Okay. But again, does that mean they'll smell their own farts almost instantaneously? You
can't smell farts underwater. That's one of the benefits of being a fish.
It's sort of like, in space they can't hear you scream. In
the ocean,
you can't smell your farts.
Yeah, in the ocean you can't smell your farts, and you never feel wet.
True, very true.
Yeah.
So we can talk about. So apparently there was a whistleblower that's alleging that Mallinckrodts bribed doctors to boost sales.
I am so surprised. I'm so surprised. When I look at a company like Mallinckrodt, I see nothing but quality business practices.
Well, I don't know what happened here because Mallinckrodt used to be a relatively decent company. I mean, this was before Actar Gel, but now you look at it and without Actar Gel, they'd have almost nothing. And they were spin out from Covidien, and I remember they had a whole bunch of things. Yep. I don't know what happened to it all with that business.
They found a better way to do business, which is to bribe doctors.
Yes, bribe doctors and get drugs that don't really work but are really expensive and sell it to people, and especially to Medicare, which will not negotiate on price. So you can go full price on a significant portion of your sales, which is actually, this is maybe segue to kind of a little kink in Medicare for All.
We're doing kink again?
Not that kind of kink. A kink in the, the idea. So a lot of people think that if you have like Medicare for all, it's bad for pharma and it's bad for, and it will help lower drug prices. But if anything, it actually might increase drug prices or keep them the same, because now you just won't have, the PBMs out there negotiating lower prices. You're just going to have kind of like whatever pharma sets, pharma gets.
Okay, so several things to talk about on this topic. We've totally abandoned Mallinckrodt. We're going to talk about Medicare for all now. Several things. Number one, we don't talk about this too much when we talk about Medicare for all. We talk about just increasing the number of insured people, which is an end goal in and of itself. Making sure that people are covered and are going to get medicine one way or another. All right. The other aspect we often talk about is just how incredibly expensive medicine is in this country, and Medicare for all gives you a tremendous amount of negotiating power. Now, we would have to negotiate for that, and for some reason, from some cockamamie scheme, we weren't allowed to negotiate prices or anything like Medicare right now, which is totally insane. Then, yes, that would be true. They could charge whatever the hell they want. Now, how is this going to play out? Well, it's played out in every other country that's done this, basically the way you would hope. They can negotiate for prices. But I have no faith in our system. I have absolutely no faith in our system that it won't twist it and turn it and make it a tremendous boon to everyone involved.
Yes. Because pharma, I think, is for Medicare for all. If you actually look at it, they're not really fighting it, because it'll make it so they don't have to deal with friggin' insurance companies anymore. And they're probably pretty confident that they can lobby for their drugs not to get any price cuts. Because, look, all it takes is, ownership of a couple of senators.
Exactly.
Like Cory Booker or something.
Exactly.
And he'll just be like putting pressure on CMS not to cut prices for different things. And that's how it's going to work. And so in the end, you might actually have higher drug prices, worse insurance, but rich fat cat pharma companies. Anywho, that's just the way things roll these days.
It does happen that way, but all you can really do is have faith that maybe this next time around we'll elect some competent people into government.
No, remember we were just talking about the Biden-China connection. Everyone's corrupt. They're all corrupt. You either have for example, the Republicans, of course, have their corruption issues. Democrats do too. You have basically, it's been run by the Clinton corporatist folks who are just, they're not, and Biden's kind of one of them. So what's good for American corporations is good for America kind of thinking. And Biden's running away with the primaries right now.
I know. All right. You've given me a sad. Anyway, what else we got about biotech? Not
much, really.
That's it?
Yeah, that was it. One thing I could say is that, so last night I was at a dinner. There was, it was actually a hedge fund pitching for investors. And the guy was very, very, very pro Tesla. He owned a Tesla. And, he was talking about autonomy and all that stuff. And I, of course I asked him about what, well, don't you think they'll go bankrupt? It's like, oh no, they just did a raise and, their deliveries are up significantly year over year. I'm like, yeah, but how much, their deliveries are actually up on the products they don't make money on. And the ones they are profitable on are down. And now they have all this competition coming out. But this guy was I don't know. He was kind of clueless, and he was probably almost the exact opposite of me. He likes all these idiotic tech things. We were also talking about Peloton. It's oh, it's great, and it's connected to this social media thing, and so all your you're kind of racing not just against yourself and your old times, but your friends' times, and so if you slack off, they'll make fun of you. I'm I'm sorry, dude. I don't really know anyone who would. Yeah, if you're one of those cycle riders that go on a gaggle on Route 9W New Jersey or wherever and block traffic and stuff. Okay. Yeah. Those people, they'll probably do that sort of thing. I would say that 99.9% of people are never going to check what your friggin' Peloton numbers are. No one's going to care. And
for our listeners that don't do this, a Peloton is a Internet of Things stationary bike.
Yeah, it's basically where you, while you're riding, you can have like a little TV like you have in a gym, except this time you can download like instructional videos, and sometimes they'll be live. So there'll be an instructor there yelling at you like in 1984.
What I would like to see is maybe a recreation of that movie Ben-Hur with some of these bikes, where you can play a video game where you have to race other people, sort of like a demolition derby, roller derby type smash other people situation, where you bike really fast and other people there are like little avatars on your screen, and you can kick them and punch them. And
so you want Mad Max,
like
and Peloton,
a virtual reality Mad Max version of this. Yes, I think this is very doable.
Well, if you, yeah, I would think it's actually pretty doable.
Yeah. I might whip it up.
Just do a VR Fortnite, man. You'd be rich.
You can't do VR Fortnite?
I don't know. If you can.
Fortnite's not VR yet?
I don't think so. But like, no, so you could actually feel it when you're hitting people.
Oh, that's a lot trickier.
You go on like the ATV, but there's also like another application for that, which we'll not mention, but which will probably be like far more lucrative.
That sort of high degree of haptic feedback is challenging. Although what you're alluding to is actually a thing that exists in the world right now.
Really?
Yes.
Where?
Well, what you do is you go online and you order a product.
Oh, okay, I see.
Right, and it comes to your house, and then then you call your significant other, and they also have a similar product.
Huh, interesting. I remember Scott Adams, like, he had a book, Our Dilbert Future, and he had like a little thing on Star Trek there. And he's like, you know what? The holodeck, so completely unrealistic. Like, do you really think that if there was such a thing as a holodeck where you could basically do whatever you want and like, say, oh, I want to be in, 1600s France, that people would actually do 1600s France and not like this other thing?
Well, in Deep Space Nine, they make it pretty clear that is what most people are doing in the holodeck. Like, people rent them by the hour.
Okay, I might have missed that episode. I didn't watch every episode of that one. I liked parts of it. Like, at first it was boring, but then it got really good when they started doing like a Babylon 5-esque multi-year story arc.
I also liked Deep Space Nine. Voyager, not so much.
Voyager, yeah. Or have you watched the latest one? The one on CBS Online?
No, I've given up. It's for my own self-preservation.
Yeah, I mean, also it's like it's the same thing with Star Wars. It's like it's kind of like you can have these like endless movies, but that doesn't mean any of them are going to be good. It's kind of like a narrow thing. It's like a narrow universe. Unlike, for example, Marvel, where they have like 50 years worth of stories across like dozens of characters and just like a rich backstory. So you can have like keep whipping out more and more like movies and TV shows and stuff like that because they have the material there, and they just choose the best ones to make the stories out of. Like Thanos, that was in the comics.
All right, don't spoil anything for me because I haven't seen the new one yet.
No, I'm not going to spoil anything for you. But
I will say
it was really good, by the way.
Because of the comic history in the Marvel universe, they've at times just said, there's just like an alternative universe. Or maybe they want to explore like an alternative history to one of their heroes or whatever, and they say alternative universe. Yeah. You can just do it. So they can really expand it even beyond what is logically plausible. Like maybe the first Hulk movie happened in an alternative universe.
Oh, that would be nice. I think they even call them like alternative Earth number, like, and they have like a 4-digit number. So yes, they just have like endless.
Totally embraced this to the point where you can just like, oh, it's just a different story. Let's just show Wolverine on like Earth 6.
Oh, well, actually, they recently did something really, really cool in the Into the Spider-Verse movie that came out last December, where they had like the multiple Spider-Mans. So they had Spider-Gwen, which was Gwen Stacy being Spider-Man or Spider-Person. And then also there was like a noir Spider-Man. There was like a Japanese Spider-Man with a giant robot. And there was a Spider-Pig, which was really funny. It was like a Bugs Bunny cartoon Spider-Man.
Cool.
Yeah, so I really like. So yeah, they've done a really good job with that, and they have so much material. So that's probably why you have like, the Avengers Endgame, the most successful movie of all time, getting $2 billion in 11 days.
Wow, I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, they got $2 billion in 11 days, and I think Disney paid like $9 billion for like Marvel.
Yeah,
I mean, they're just
these successful movies make so much money.
Well, they're rare, but
I mean, let's say most monies end up making back the cost of production. Like, there's hardly ever like one that's just a flop and actually loses money. They eventually make the money back over a long enough time frame.
I think you're talking about blockbusters.
I was thinking, well,
because
like the major studios, because they go to video and then they go international and they remarket it internationally, and then they try to just sort of scrape back up like the $100-200 million they spent on it.
I don't know. It's like there's a lot of them that are flops that just like you don't see, and they've gone straight to video or something like that, or they got sold to Netflix and never made had a theatrical release. I mean, like that Bird Box movie. I'm sure that was expensive. I doubt that. I mean, I don't know how much.
Netflix is just buying straight up movies now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but how much are they paying? I don't know.
I think they pay good money. Like,
but like $100 million for Bird Box?
I don't know how much they pay for it, but I mean, maybe somebody knows. But I mean, just think about like Roma and everything else like that. I believe like they like really wanted that movie, and they paid like good money for it because they wanted to be like an Oscar contender, and they wanted to sort of establish that. And like, I believe that was like won something at Cannes or something like that. I might be getting the story wrong here. And so they were just like, we want it, and so they like outbid other people.
Yeah, I mean, Amazon did that too with is it Manchester by the Sea?
Yeah,
that was their movie.
Yeah,
it was too depressing to win the Oscar though.
I never saw it.
Oh, it's actually a pretty good movie.
That's what I've heard.
So I would recommend it. I mean, it should be on Prime.
Maybe I'll download it.
By the way, this is going to be a really fun summer movie season. Got like Dark Phoenix, John Wick 3.
John Wick 3 I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, hopefully it's more like John Wick 1 and not John Wick 2.
I thought they were pretty similar, Max.
No, but you don't have that urge for revenge in John Wick 2 because like they killed his puppy, man, and they stole his car. Car's not even.
They blew up his house. And they still killed his puppy. He was still working out his puppy issues.
Yeah, but it's like a second movie. It's hard to reinflate the same puppy twice.
I'm not really so concerned with
it's revenge genre, man.
The plot devices and mostly the face smashing.
Well, someone pointed out that it's basically like The Matrix with revenge.
It's kind of Matrixy. Is that one based on a comic book? Because it kind of seems like it is.
No, I think they just loved comic books so much, so they made it like a comic book.
Okay.
And then they tried to make the universe grander in 2 and 3, and it sucks so bad.
Okay.
Yeah, first one was so good. And this one, I mean, it's pretty much like a lot of fighting, a lot of cool things, and then, revenge.
All right. Well, if there's nothing else, I guess we can wrap it up, close it up. Well, thanks everyone for listening. As always, don't listen to any of our advice, medical, investment, or otherwise. Don't stick ginger up your butt.
Yes, please don't. Anyway, thank you so much for listening, and don't forget to review us on iTunes.
And like and subscribe.
Yes, thank you very much. Bye.
See you next week. Our theme music is by Hazard.